Vella Lovell, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's such an honor to have you on. You've been doing an amazing work in animal control, and your career is incredible. I mean, you went to Juilliard. It's an incredible thing to achieve. I've auditioned, so I know how strenuous that is, but
Wait, have you really?
I have twice. Yeah.
Oh my God, I want to hear about that
Yeah.
process.
Did you go to
Definitely.
NYU Tisch
Yes.
undergrad? Me too.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, sure did. Yeah.
What studio?
I was at Strasbourg.
The whole time?
No, I did 2 years and then I did 2 years Stone Street. Where were you?
Oh, that's so you were smart. You were actually thinking
I
about
guess. Yeah. I mean, I dropped out
the
and came
business.
back, but it wasn't really worth
Okay.
much. But where was your studio?
I did experimental theater wing for
Ooh.
3 years, and then I did the classical studio for the last
Oh,
year.
amazing. Daniel Spector's my guy.
Oh, I love Daniel. He's
Yeah.
amazing. And we were there when Louis Sheeter was the head and Daniel was kind of like taking or was kind of his apprentice, I would say.
Absolutely.
Um yeah, yeah. But like I say you're smart because Stone Street was like actually film and TV. So you were thinking about the practical nature of being an actor, whereas I was rolling on the floor the Friday before graduation, and then on Monday I had no idea what to do with my life.
Yeah, but
So
also
you're smart.
I'm hosting a podcast. You're on a network show, so I think you're doing pretty
I
fine.
mean, I
But
mean, but that's really cool.
I appreciate it. But I'm so excited to talk to you. And as my audience knows, I started at the beginning. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up mostly in New Mexico. I was born in California, in Southern California, and then my mom and I moved to New Mexico when I was about 5, I think.
Wow.
So it's just me and her, and we lived in Southern New Mexico, which I don't know if you've have you been to New Mexico
I
before?
have because I used to work for a rock band, so I was a roadie, but we always stopped off in like Las Cruces, which was a random.
I lived there.
Oh, you did? No way.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly we said random. Really random place.
Yeah.
And then I lived in an even more random place called Alamogordo, and
I
went to school
don't
in Tularosa. It's really, do you know like White Sands National Park?
I know
You've
of
seen
it. I
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's near there. And then, so lived there for 2 years each. And then we moved to Santa Fe, and my mom is still there, and my stepdad are still there. So mostly we're in Santa Fe, and then went to boarding school when I was like 15.
Wow.
So yeah, that was I I say I'm from New Mexico because I spent the most collective time there in my childhood, but it was really only like 10 years, I guess.
Talk to me about that. Do you remember the California part of this whole like beginning?
Oh yeah, because yeah, I was like, and my grandparents we lived with my grandparents till I was about 5. So we would go back and visit. So I kind of have
Oh, okay. So it's like a
like
second home, California, sort of.
a little bit, yeah. It was interesting coming back here as an adult. I realized that because a lot of people from New York who come to LA, it's such a culture shock and they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I get that because it doesn't really make sense if you're a city person. It's not really that kind of a city. But for whatever reason, I think because I had spent my early childhood here, it didn't shock me or feel weird. I kind of felt an understanding in some way coming back, which I think is about probably my childhood.
I love that. And then
Mhm.
at what like in Santa Fe, what age are we talking that you finally were in one place for an extended period of time before boarding school?
Yeah, in Santa Fe, I was there for sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and tenth. So I was there
Wow.
for 5 years. So that was like the longest kind of that I had been in a city because we had kind of been moving every 2 years. So yeah, I went to like end of elementary and then first half of high school in Santa Fe.
Was that hard
Um,
on you moving a lot like that? Like having to build new friends and new networks every time, or did you not really know any different?
yeah, I feel like I guess it was hard on me, but at the same time, now I'm so used to change in a way.
Mm.
Like change, like I know, I imagine if you live in your same childhood house for 18 years, which was a fantasy of mine when I was little, like the full house,
Oh
oh my
wow.
God, like you have your house because I didn't have that, but but then I imagine when you leave your childhood house, it's just such a shock and
Yeah.
you're not used to that. And in a way, living in New York, I think I moved 15 times. Like in New York City, you're always kind of moving. And
Every year.
I, every year, and you're finding new
Yeah.
apartments and you're living with different people. And so that didn't shock me in the way that maybe it would have shocked me if I had lived in the same place for 18 years. But yeah, I didn't really have friends when I was younger, which I think has like informed because now I have friends are very important to me.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was the moving every 2 years. I was always the new girl,
Mm. And
which
do you
is
think
tough.
that made you like insecure in a way that
Friendly,
yeah, I
a
love
nice
that.
person.
Well, talk to me, because like that's such a turbulent time for anyone, like sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth grade. At that point, then you're kind of starting a new school, which like is middle
Mhm.
school, as Americans know it. Are you at this point like interested in the arts, or your parents exposing you to the arts? Like, where did that begin to happen for you?
Well, so my mom, I guess, got it in her head that I was gonna be a concert pianist. Like it was kind of like when I was little, she just decided you are gonna you're gonna pay for our lives by being this famous pianist, which is kind of hilarious because I feel like it's probably even more competitive than acting because the
Oh
your
yeah.
acting is so subjective and piano is so objective. I mean, you either got it or you didn't. Um, and so I was just playing piano from when I was about 3 or 4. It was just a huge priority for my mom, and she would drive an hour to take me to a lesson, and she would, we wouldn't like, have nice food because I was like getting piano lessons. It was like, this girl's gonna take us. I don't know where she thought we were going to go. So it was this kind of thing that I did, but I didn't really love it, and I didn't really feel like I
Mm.
chose to do it. I just kind of was a would play piano. But I was I literally have I'm recording
I'm literally about
in
to
front
say
of a piano.
that.
It's like it's
I know.
haunting me.
So you still got the
So
skills, clearly.
I love it, and it is cool. Like I haven't played in probably a month, but every time I play, I'm like, oh right, I have this thing that's still in my fingers. I
Yeah,
still know it really well. But it wasn't a thing I chose. It wasn't actually my joy, and so I firmly believe if you don't love something, you can't. There's a ceiling to how much you're gonna
totally.
excel at it kind of because if you don't really want it like you're not
Yeah.
there's a part of you that's missing from it. So I was doing piano always, and then I guess I kind of found theater through maybe school plays, or I would always play pretend for hours and was really into Barbies and just my imagine kind of losing myself in my imagination. And I loved reading. I loved books. Like those I was the girl who at recess was reading a book. It's
Love
so sad.
that. What were
I
you
mean, that's
reading?
nice.
Was there something that was engrossing to you? Like, was there what was it?
Oh God, I read so much. Do you remember the show Wishbone
Yeah, of course.
on
Yeah.
PBS? Loved that. Got a lot of inspiration from that. So I would read the classics, and then I was also into such classics as The Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High,
Wow.
and the horse series Black Beauty,
Oh, I
Boxcar
remember those
Children.
books at book fairs. You're bringing me back.
Scholastic book
The
fair. Huge fan
Scholastic.
of Scholastic.
Same. I would just spend so much money on books. I never read them. It sounds
Yes.
like you did.
Oh my God, remember the catalog, the Scholastic catalog?
A total banger.
And
I would look at that thing.
banger.
Oh my God. Like, do you remember Sky
Yes.
Mall? Sky Mall and Scholastic Book Fair were like the two
Yeah.
things. I missed that.
Oh, but you're right. You would kind of get overexcited and think you could read 50 books and like order all of them. And then it's
Totally.
like, you're not going to read that.
But you might have. So then
I might have. Yeah.
at any point then, like, because I kind of look back, it seems like we're pretty close in age in the 90s, such a great time
Hmm.
for like children's television. Were you
Yeah.
watching any of those programs? Because
I,
wasn't there
I
Roswell,
unfortunately,
a TV?
oh, Roswell, New Mexico. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. I mean, unfortunately, my mom would not let me really watch TV. So
Mhm.
I could watch PBS on Sundays. I don't know why she thought that was okay. So I would watch like I don't know if you were into PBS, but I could watch like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego
Okay. Love that.
and Ghost Rider. There was a show called Ghost Rider. That's a deep cut. You probably don't know it. But
I
I
don't think
was
I do.
like, yeah, I couldn't watch any of the fun sh like I would watch them at friends' houses, Nickelodeon or whatever. I would watch Saved by the Bell at like the neighbor's house, but
Amazing.
um yeah, it was kind of at home. I couldn't really like binge watch TV, but at friends' houses I definitely would.
Where did the discovery moment, like, was there a school play in middle school or right before you went to boarding school where you really kind of felt the bug pull you in?
Yeah, I just always loved it. Like I was all it
Mm.
was like it was fun to me. It was my hobby. I guess I was in plays, just plays at school always. And then I went in high school, I kind of did the theater program and I just loved it. I don't know, it was my passion, but I kind of thought, well, I guess the thing I'm good at is piano, so that's what I'm supposed to do. And then when I went to boarding school, it
In
was
New Mexico,
it
sorry to
was
interrupt.
Oh, no, it was a school called Interlochen in Michigan, in northern Michigan, and it's a camp as well as a school for the arts. And it's a lot of people go to Juilliard for music or all the Curtis, Oberlin, all
Wow.
of these. And so you have these musical prodigies, just waking up at 5 a.m. to practice for 4 hours before breakfast, and then practice at lunch, and then practice for 4 hours at night. Like they are so serious. And I was the worst one there for sure.
So was this a bad experience for you or was this like a good time?
I mean, it was both like New Mexico is amazing for a lot of reasons. The public school system in New Mexico is not great. So I was not really going to a good school and Interlochen was this huge eye opener of like exposure, people who were artists, people who kind of were pursuing this. And I went to the camp for piano
Mm.
for probably 3 years, 3 or 4 years. So every summer I would go to this camp and it was like, oh my God, there's people in other states that are like artists and that are musicians and are trying out for these colleges. I don't think I would have known that if I hadn't had that exposure. Um, so going to the school was also it was almost that times 100. Just realizing that you could actually pursue a career in the arts, and I was trying to take theater classes while I was there doing piano, but they were very rigid about. It was kind of like if you're a musician, you take music classes. If you're an actor, you take acting classes. If you're a dancer, you take dance. And it was really they didn't really understand people who wanted to do more than
Wow.
one. So I would take like one little dance class for like beginners or one like acting for non-majors or whatever. And
Yeah.
I realized I was just really happy when I was doing that. So when it came time to audition for schools, I auditioned for my piano schools with my program and whatever. And then I like secretly auditioned for some theater schools
Which ones
just
did you audition for? Because obviously, like
NYU,
yeah.
and then Emerson, I
Okay.
think. And maybe was there another one? No, I think it was just those two.
Juilliard wasn't on your radar yet.
No, I actually had auditioned for Juilliard as a piano player when I was 15 and did
Wow.
not get in. At around the same time I went to Interlochen.
Okay.
Didn't get in and was like, this never again will I step foot in these halls.
Oh my God. I can only
Like
imagine
it
how
was
intense
so traumatic and so intense. That building is so intense,
it
and
really is.
I was like 15 playing piano for these like serious people, and it just felt like, oh my God, this is so traumatizing. I'm never gonna do this. So it's so ironic that then I was back in that building 10 years later, but for acting.
It,
Um,
and then talk to me about your auditioning for drama schools. I mean, at that point, at
yeah.
Interlochen, were you able to get some monologues together to kind of to?
Like from a monologue book. You know those monologue
Yeah, of
books like from
course,
like
totally.
2002 or whatever,
Yeah,
and they didn't have anything to do with a play or
just
they
the
were just
good male monologues, 30 to 40 female. I remember them so well.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it would be like, "Mom, let me go to the prom." Like it was just a random character that
you're
had
bringing me
nothing to do
back.
with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was like because this is my moment and I deserve that. And then that was just the monologue. So I just memorized two of those. And yeah.
And you didn't tell
When
your
I
mom that you were going to do these auditions?
I don't think so. I think I kept it really under wraps and did it while I was auditioning for other um like I went to Boston to audition for, Boston Conservatory or
Yeah.
something for piano and then I did Emerson like the next day or something. So I kind of just slipped it in to just see, okay, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
And
And
then I got into NYU and I remember I was deciding between I got into Northwestern for piano and I got into NYU for theater. And I was like, which way do I go? Like, because I genuinely was like, I don't know which way to go.
yeah.
And then I chose NYU because I figured it would be easier to major in theater and minor in music versus major in music and minor in theater. So that kind of made the decision and I went with it, which to me now looking back, I'm like, I don't know if anyone listening will relate, but there's always a weird instinct that I've had that almost is like a survival thing that kind of creeps out. And I'm like looking back, I can just see that I was like, how do I get out of this? Like, how do I get out of
Yeah.
being a piano player? Because this is not right, you know?
Do you
So I
think your
think there was
mom,
maybe something in there that was like trying to figure out a path. Um,
when you made that decision, was that hard for your mom? Do you think she knew that like I want to be done with this thing?
No, I think she was really upset because she had
Mm.
put so much time in. But she took it in stride, I would say. She was upset, but I think I was like, I'm gonna keep playing piano. Don't worry about it. It'll all work out. I had no idea.
That's
Um,
amazing. Shout out to your mom.
yeah, yeah.
So then obviously being at boarding school, you're at that point pretty used to being away from home because I think a lot of kids come to New
Yeah.
York City and it can be a massive culture shock. How was that
hmm
experience for you? Because not only were you in a new city, but at this point you're kind of changing careers, so to speak.
Yeah, like coming to New York for the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why yeah, my time at NYU was honestly, yeah, I think it was almost just adjusting to this new version of myself.
Mm.
I was still really shy and kind of scared in my acting. And I think I was almost just adjusting to coming out of my shell in a lot of ways. And then adjusting to New York City, which is I still th I mean, I live in LA, I love LA, and I still think New York's just the best city
Totally.
in the whole world.
Live from New York right now.
Oh, are you really
Yeah,
amazing?
yeah, yeah.
Tell it I say hi. Tell her I say
I
hi.
Yeah, you got to come back
Um,
soon. But at
yeah.
that point, for the audience listening, because I realized at the beginning we were talking about ETW, you might not know, but ETW is a theater wing at NYU
Mhm.
where what we call primary studio, and a lot of that is like it's a lot of like viewpoints and Alexander technique, right?
At experimental.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's viewpoints, but it's also from this man called Grotowski who
Mhm.
did a lot of I think they're called plastiques, but it's essentially physical acting and also really weird theater, just like
Yeah.
bizarre, like naked people coming out of trash cans and being like, my past, like that
Yeah. And
kind of a thing.
how was that for you?
Yeah.
Like, was that a weird or good thing?
Honestly, because I've danced kind of my whole life, so it honestly made a lot of sense to me more than probably something like Strasbourg, which
Okay.
now I would love to go to Strasbourg. But I think probably at 17, it actually made a lot of sense to me to come from your body and and that felt comfortable to me to kind of get in that way. And I would say I still pretty much approach characters physically and just being like outside in kind of
Yeah.
like what if you just take a certain shape, what happens to your body and what happens to your voice and where does your emotion go? And that did make a lot of sense to me. And then the crazy theater stuff, I think because that's what the studio I was at and that was my foundation. That kind of became the North Star. And, my dream was like to be, to perform at La Mama or to perform at
Wow.
these off Broadway places, and our teachers were theater artists from
Terry
downtown theater.
Knickerbocker.
Yes, Terry.
Terry's the
Love Terry.
best.
Terry was
Yeah.
like the most normal teacher we
Yeah,
had,
he's the
though. We had
sane one of all the odd
he's
fellows.
he's sane and very cool. He taught Meisner. Did he teach in Strasbourg too?
No, Terry did the podcast, and I knew of Terry, and I've always wanted to work with him. But he's got his
No
own thing.
way.
Yeah, yeah. Terry's great.
Legend. He's a legend. Yeah, so we had like some kind of more standard teachers, but a lot of experimental theater wing is like just, I don't know, contact improv where you're just rolling on each other. You're literally paying like $50,000
I know
for
it's
this.
crazy.
I mean, I am still paying off my NYU loans,
Same,
just so
man.
you know. Yeah.
I need this
And you're
episode
literally making
viral.
sound. You're going like, "Oh,"
It's
and then you're
great.
like, that was thousands of dollars. So that's good. But yeah, I don't know.
Amazing.
I think I like that became kind of the dream would be to be in, those were like the legends was downtown theater people, theater of the two-headed calf and like
Wow.
the living theater and open theater. I don't know, that's who we studied and it was just
Yeah.
like those are the cool people.
And at a certain point there, did you kind of, because I think everyone is so used to at a certain point being in just the school containment of like, I'm going to the next grade, I'm going to the next grade. And if you're in
Yeah.
college, that at some point you're going to graduate and you enter the real world. And we kind of spoke earlier about Stone Street, which is their film, TV business studio. Did you,
Yeah.
you talked about these, La Mama and, New York Theater Workshop, everything on that street. Did you kind of see the dream for you being I graduate from NYU and I do a bunch of New York theater? Was that what you were hoping for?
Yeah, it's what I'm still hoping for, right? Any day now. Any day now they're gonna
Oh
call.
man, we'll have to
Um,
we'll do True West together after this. But
yeah, but like in space or something.
exactly, and we'll switch roles
Yeah,
every
it can't
night.
be like traditional.
No
Yeah.
way, no way, no way.
Um, yeah, I
So
mean, I don't know. I honestly, and I think probably this has been this has been helped me is I've always just had literally like no expectations, if not like below the floor expectations for what's going to
uh,
happen. My highest aspiration has been to pay my rent from acting. And so I think in some ways I think that hurts me. I can come up with my own ceiling pretty
yeah,
easily. But in some ways, I think it helped me because I never thought I was owed anything. I come from like zero money. So
yeah,
I just never thought I deserved like anything really. So I didn't really know what to expect, but I also wasn't expecting Broadway or anything. I was like, it'd be so cool if I could, come out of a trash can at La Mama and like
yeah.
speak on my voice and make weird sounds. Like that would be cool, and that was kind of it. But it was
And
definitely a huge adjustment graduating from art school. And I don't really blame art school so much because I don't know how you prepare someone to be an artist. I think you do just have to drop them in the swimming pool. But
yeah,
I genuinely did not know what to do. Like I was joking, I was rolling on the floor Friday and didn't know what to do Monday, but I really didn't know what to do on Monday. It was like
yeah.
I remember feeling so confused and lost when I graduated because there's that structure of school that you were saying.
Totally. And I feel like you're
Yeah.
narrating my own experience and coming up on 300 of the episodes of the show. A lot of other NYU grads experience. So at that time,
So maybe NYU is not doing a good
yeah,
job actually.
maybe the rates are a little high, but
Be a little high, yeah.
a little
Well,
return on investment would be nice. But
yeah, yeah.
were you at this point then where I got to get an agent? Was that your first thing when you graduated or
No, no. It was like it was like, where am I gonna live? Where am I gonna like? How am I gonna make money? Am I gonna be on the streets? Like, it
oh
was
my,
definitely. I didn't even
we're the
know where
same
to go.
person.
Yeah, I was like, agent. I mean, that was so far off for me. I
Yeah.
was just like so. Um, I was just so. How do you survive? Kind of if you're
Yeah.
not in the dorms and you have a schedule. So it really took a long time not a long time. It took me probably a year to realize, okay, here's my jobs. Here's how I'm going to get my artistic, inspiration. Here's my friends. Here's my community. Just setting up my life, I think, took a
Yeah.
little bit of time. And then it was just became clear that, I mean, I just was making stuff with my friends and basically scouring backstage, scouring
Actors
Craig. Did Craig?
Access.
Yeah, maybe Actors Access, but it's mostly backstage, I think, or
Mm.
just any. I mean, there is a YouTube video of me like doing this YouTube video called How to Become an Egg Donor that I think I got paid $50 to do, and I was like, I've made it. I'm on TV.
Wow. I love that for you. And
Yeah, it was just very like, how can I do any kind of acting and pay my rent, kind of.
and were you doing hospitality jobs?
Yeah, I was waiting tables. I'm a terrible waitress, so I have been fired from restaurants before.
I've been fired from
Uh,
everyone. I think it's pretty normal for,
really,
yeah.
isn't it like it's surprisingly, at least for me, was hard for my ego. I was like, you don't want me to serve schnitzel? Like, oh my God, this is dark.
Oh man.
Like, if I can't serve like I don't know, mashed potatoes. Like, what? How can I do anything in life?
There's something true to what you're saying, but
Yeah, but
uh,
yeah, waitressing, nannying, personal assistant. I did a lot of temp work.
hmm.
Um, oh my God, I don't know. I think I've done every job.
and,
Um,
I bring it up in relation to at what point was there someone in your life, or was it your own experience having done it at
mhm.
15 where grad school started to come to your mind? Like when did that happen?
Yeah, so I did not know about grad school really, and I didn't think I was going to do it. And I kind of slowly found my artistic community in New York. And one thing that I did was the Flea Theater. And another thing I did, which is an off Broadway. I don't know if they still
I
exist.
don't know it.
Yeah, they had actually it's a similar theme comes up in a lot of things that I've done, which is that it's non-equity actors are a huge, they will work for free in a way that people will take advantage of them
Mm,
because they will literally scrub toilets for free in exchange for acting. And so I think there's a couple institutions
got
that will
it.
take advantage of that. So they might not exist anymore, but the Flea Theater was this off Broadway theater where you could you could audition. There was an open, you don't have to have an agent. You could audition and then get cast in a play, and then you would have to work for free at the theater, scrubbing the toilets or painting the theater or doing office work, and then you could be in a play.
Yeah.
And sometimes there was this urban legend, oh, you could get your equity card, and like that was this huge thing.
Wow.
Um, and then I did a lot of like I'm mixed, I'm black and a quarter Jewish, but I am ethnically ambiguous, which has been a whole other
Yeah.
journey to navigate as an actor. But for whatever reason, I just ended up being in all these different like theater companies as a ringer. Like, so there's this theater company called Intar, which is for like Latinx actors. And I was always like, they were like, can you just show up for a reading? And I was like, okay. So I
Amazing.
ended up doing stuff with them. And then I found Williamstown Theater Festival,
The best.
um, which is the best. And it was honestly one of the more like formative experiences. So I started as an apprentice there. Um, so I was kind of like sweeping the floors of the parties. I remember one of my jobs was to sweep up cigarette butts from the parties that they would have.
Wow.
But you get these little acting opportunities. So that first summer, I was an apprentice and I did costumes for Three Sisters that was directed by Michael Greif, and it had Rosemary DeWitt was Masha, Aya Cash was Arena,
Wow.
Jessica Hecht was Olga. There was some other like incredible. It was just an incredible cast, and
Yeah.
I got to do costumes for it. And it's just getting to be. That's always been so helpful is to just be in the environment where you get to soak it up
Yeah.
and just kind of see this amazing acting happening. And I think it was the first Chekhov play I really got to see, and And so a lot of people at Williamstown were grad school people who would come for the summer.
Mhm.
And I guess there I did 3 summers there as a non-equity actor. And I guess that's when I started kind of this recurring theme of like, you can go to grad school for acting. And all these amazing actors who would do these little parts in like the midnight plays were from NYU grad or Juilliard or Yale. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is an option. And then when I was about 25, I kind of started being like, what am I like gonna keep doing this thing where I'm hustling and just doing it this way, figuring it out on my own, or do I want to kind of go back to square one and try grad school? And I auditioned and I randomly got Juilliard was the only place I got in.
Did you do NYU, Yale, Juilliard?
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And I think I got a call back to Yale, but I didn't get in.
Mm.
NYU, nothing. And then I got into Juilliard, and it was actually interesting. I had done a small part in Shakespeare in the Park at some point, and
Your
the
resume
director
was killer. That's amazing.
kind of, but like the director, I asked the director, "Would you write my recommendation letter?" And she said no.
What? That's
She
so
said,
rude.
she said, I don't think I can, I don't think I've seen enough of your work to write you a recommendation letter. And then she said, maybe try out for the California schools, which I was also like, what?
Are you kidding me? The
No.
audacity.
Yeah. But I've had that a few times where like someone just goes out of their way to tell me, I don't think it's going to work out for you.
Oh my God. How
And
did you?
well, I don't know. It devastates me when that
Yeah.
happens, and it happened at Juilliard later as well. It devastates me, and then I get this like I don't know if we can curse on this
Yeah,
podcast.
totally. Fuck
Okay,
whatever.
and then
Yeah.
I get this like "fuck you, I'm gonna prove you wrong"
Yeah.
attitude, and then it kind of energizes me. But it definitely devastates me, and I'm like, should I just stop now?
Oh, well, my podcast is
Yeah,
literally called "An Actor Despairs," and I feel like the
yeah,
one
yeah.
the one true time I have like seen despair are the two times I've auditioned for Juilliard. So can you take me to that day of your audition?
Yes, and then I'm so curious how your experience was and
Oh,
when you auditioned and if I possibly was your monitor.
I don't think I don't think you were my monitor because it was professors the first time, and then the other time it was I think it was just I can't remember, but
Yeah. Okay.
I did 2015 and then 2018 or
Okay.
2017. Yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't yeah, so because I graduated in 2015, so I would have
Oh, okay.
just missed you. But I mean, as you know, it's a crazy experience. It's like so many people in this room. I mean, it's the whole morning. You're there at like 6 a.m. You go in, you do your monologues, and then they like post that piece of paper with,
Oh,
15 names on it. And then everyone freaks out.
yeah. And for the audience listening, because you obviously were getting an MFA, it's like what is it? It's
Mhm.
like 12 undergrads to like four grads.
Well, I mean, sore subject. Our class was the last class to not receive an MFA. So pretty much like from 2012 on, I think now they get MFAs. But before that, but it's good company. It's Viola Davis, Jessica Chastain. They did not
Yeah.
receive MFAs either. But I just have a piece of paper that said you went to college a second time.
Okay.
So I didn't get it. I technically don't have a master's, but it is pretty much the exact same program. I think the master's took one more directing class
Got it.
than we did. So they had to slightly adjust it, but it was pretty much the same program. But yeah, it was like maybe, yeah, like 15, 16 people that are posted on this paper. And then then if you get called back, you basically do classes for 12 hours and you just like I don't know, you do acting class, movement class, you have these interviews where the director of the school stares into your soul and is like, who are you? And
Yeah.
then yeah, they last all night and the faculty observes you. And I was actually performing in these late night shows at the Flea Theater. So I remember my audition went until midnight. And then I went to perform downtown this like silly midnight show. And then went to audition for Yale in the morning, which is maybe why my Yale audition was not so great.
Mine was
Um,
also after my Juilliard, but that you
yeah.
having a Juilliard like all day long, that must have felt great.
Yeah, it was honestly because Juilliard was not on my radar. My dream was to go to NYU grad. And so I just, for whatever reason, was like not thinking about Juilliard. So I didn't feel as intimidated for whatever
Mm.
reason. I was like, I don't know about this school. And so I was probably more myself a little bit. And yeah, I like felt good about it. And then I found out I got a call back, like the next callback weekend, which is a couple months later, and it's like 40 of you, and then you do classes for a whole weekend, and they observe you and kind of observe how you run around, I guess, and your
Yeah.
instincts and your impulses. And then from there, you find out if you got in to the class.
And how was that day for you when you got in?
When I found out,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I remember it was probably one of the first times in my journey that I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing, maybe this is like, maybe I'm not terrible at this, or like maybe this is like, it was just a nice little like, encouragement
Yeah.
maybe of like someone saw something in you. Yeah, so I guess it was definitely like a big encouragement, for sure. Yeah.
And that's amazing. And we could do a whole podcast on Juilliard, but talk to me about your 4 years
Yeah.
there. Was that a good time in your life and good training or?
I mean, so formative, incredible training. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for my time there. I think it's for so many different reasons. I didn't kind of what we were saying about NYU. I was so young and I was so just coming out of my shell
Yeah.
and coming to New York that I was just found myself in theater school, and kind of by the end of the 4 years was a little more brave, I would say. And also going to grad school as a 25-year-old, which now seems really young to me, but I just was a little older, so I knew what I wanted and I knew what I was using school for. I knew what I wanted to do, and really what I wanted to do was like fail and try things and
Yeah.
have the experience of, I felt in school, oh, I don't know if I'm good at Shakespeare. And then it was like, well, why aren't I good at Shakespeare? Because I just haven't done it enough. So if you've done like 10 Shakespeare plays, you're probably okay, or you have tools to figure it out.
Yeah.
But when you're hustling and doing 12 jobs and barely making your
Leave
rent, you're not
theater at
thinking about,
midnight.
yeah, you're not thinking about like, how can I approach Henry IV part two? So it was just a huge blessing to get that time
Yeah.
to work on yourself. That being said, I have not been back in the building since I graduated.
Okay.
It's slightly traumatic, I think,
In a
for a lot
whiplash
of
kind
different
of
people.
sense.
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of what I've
Yes.
heard from everyone who's gone there.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked with a few people from SNL, and they almost have similar vibes when they talk about SNL to Juilliard. Like, I feel like it's this incredible opportunity. You can't imagine your life without it. It's really formative for who you are as an artist, and it's also traumatizing.
Yeah.
So I would say, I kind of what I was saying, I had a teacher there who told me I was maybe a teacher or a costume designer, which I was also like, a costume designer. Like like, have you seen my sketches? Like, how do
Yeah.
you know I'm a costume designer? But because I'm kind of an ensemble, I love ensemble. I love working together. And I had, I guess, displayed like more ensemble-y. I was like helping other students, like my classmates with things, and they were like, you're not taking the spotlight. Like you're not grabbing it. Like you're a teacher. You're not a actor. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
let me go die. And then I kind of emerged with like the fuck you attitude of like,
Yeah.
no, I get to say that, not you. But for a second I was like, should I leave school? Because if your teacher at Juilliard tells you you should be a costume designer, you're like, well,
Yeah.
what am I doing here? You know?
Totally.
Um, so yeah, I definitely, and I think because of that, I think I was lucky in that I was not the favorite, but I was also not the, they also have some people that they don't like.
Mm,
And I think I was in the middle. Like, I think they liked me, but I wasn't like a beloved. And so, honestly, I think I got lucky because I think people on either ends of the spectrum have real deep associations with that school where they either thought, "Oh, I played Hamlet, I played all these parts," and they graduate and they're confused where Hamlet is, or like,
yeah,
why aren't I the star now in the world?
totally.
And then, and then people who they didn't like and didn't get opportunities, it can be really scarring. And it can be, I think I saw some people maybe lose their spark at
Mm,
school, which
that's
is really
awful.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You're like, oh, actually, you were doing cool things. And they kind of tried to make you into this little like good
Box
actor.
peg. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and you're more interesting than that. And maybe this wasn't the right place for you. So actually, in hindsight, I think being in the middle is probably good. Um, yeah, so I don't know, it's
Yeah.
really
No, that's a
complicated. I probably didn't answer your
no,
question.
no, you absolutely did. It's incredible. And I'm sorry and also happy for you at the same time. But I'm curious because
Yeah.
for the audience listening, I can't speak. All roads at
Mhm.
these grad schools lead to a showcase. And for you, kind of being in the middle at this point, did you have expectations going into this showcase of, you wanted to get with like one of the big five, like, or did you just hope to get rep?
No, I was hoping, I mean, I had the closest I came to an agent before I went to school was I had this tiny part in Shakespeare in the Park, and I thought this one like tiny little agency, I can't even remember their name now, was like the Holy Grail. And I'd had a meeting, and I was like so exciting, and then they told me I was too green, and they wouldn't rep me, and so my goal was them. I was like, if I can get back there, because they
Wow.
dismissed me whatever 6 years ago, but I'm ready now. Like I'm not green. So I was hoping it was this little boutique agency, and I was like, that would be incredible. Um, and then, so what happened my last year, you're in shows, like repertory shows your last year at Juilliard, and casting directors come and whatever. And my classmates were all getting agents and stuff from the
During this
plays, and
program, or
yeah, you're watching everyone get agents, and you're like, it'll happen for me too.
yeah, Gersh is coming
Um,
tomorrow.
they're coming,
Yeah.
and yeah, then your classmates get repped by Gersh, and you're like, maybe not. I was in the
Yeah.
same play too.
I was
Um,
better.
yeah, but I guess not. And then actually they take you on a silent retreat, the end of fourth year. So I was on the silent retreat, and we had a little classes with casting directors just directly. And we had a class with Telsey, and they called me in for a pilot, like my first real TV audition. And I was like, great, but I was on the silent retreat, so I couldn't say my lines. I just had to think them and then just kind of absorb them, which I honestly think helped. And so we landed back in New York from the silent retreat, and I went straight to the audition. And then I was like, actually, I think that went well. I felt like good and calm. And then that night they called me, and they were like, we're gonna test you for this pilot. And I was like, what? I like had a heart attack. I was like, what? Like, what's testing? Like, I didn't have an agent. I'm like in school, and I was like, oh, okay. And then they said, yeah, and we're gonna fly you to LA on Monday, and we're gonna set you up with an agent at Gersh to negotiate your contract. And it was literally like too much information,
Yeah.
and I was like, what is going? Like, I was just so confused. And that was probably like a Friday. So Monday, I flew to LA. They put me up at, the Hilton in Universal City, and they're like, okay, you have what is it, like studio test for, this is back when you don't have to do this shit anymore, but you
Yeah.
used to have to like audition for like 20 men in suits. And then you had to do it. And then if you got past that, the studio, then you did the network, and like more people in suits. Um, and I was freaking out. I was like, I hadn't been to LA since I was a kid. I'm like, what's
Wow.
going on? Like, I don't know what's happening. I'm by myself, but I just kind of I think I had this realization. I was like, they have to cast somebody. I was like, it has to be cast. And like if I can just stay calm and do what I know how to do, which is a scene,
Yeah.
like they have to cast someone. And then I remember I did the network audition and I was going out and the casting director like all the girls are like there in the waiting room. She tapped me on the shoulder and she was like, "It's you." And I was like, "What?" And then I went home. I'm like, still haven't heard anything. And then like an hour later, like um the woman who was my new agent called and was like, "You got it." Like you got this pilot.
Oh my God. And this is before you even
Yeah.
graduated?
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. And then also what was insane is one of my classmates also was cast in the same pilot.
Was this Crazy Ex-Girlfriend or
No, it was called it never it didn't get picked up sadly, but
wow.
it was called LFE. And actually someone I went to NYU with had written it and it was about doctors who partied.
It sounds amazing. I know we got
I
to get
know.
yeah.
I'm sad it didn't get picked up. But
Wow.
so yeah, so I did that pilot. My classmate Brandon Hall, who's incredible, he was on God Friended Me, and he's doing Top Dog Underdog at Pasadena Playhouse right now,
Wow.
which I'm really excited. I'm gonna see next week. Anyway, we got to like experience our first job together and just kind of huddle in a room and be like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? What is first team? What is our marks? We had no idea what we were doing and we just were winging it, but we had each other, which was great. And then the pilot didn't get picked up, but this agency was like, we'll work with you. And then, so I had an agent going into Showcase, which was like
Amazing.
incredible. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah. So it was kind of this, yeah, that was basically, that was like, I guess my big break, honestly, was that pilot, because if that hadn't happened, I don't think I would have been on the list for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend or anything like that. So that was this huge freak accident.
But you deserved it. You worked so hard, and you made it all happen. And it's
No,
this
I don't
business is
know.
kind of a never-ending thing of like just putting in the work and then something crazy happens and whether
But you're right, and I think it's both. And I know there's that quote that's like, what is it? It's like opportunity and what is it?
meets preparation.
Preparation.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah,
You
totally.
all know what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
But it's something about working really hard and then like luck, honestly. And I think
Yeah.
the people who don't embrace that there is something just to do with complete luck. Because I'm like, if they hadn't had this part that my friend from NYU had written and that they needed someone at the exact moment that Telsey thought of me because they'd had the
Yeah.
class with me the week before, like I probably wouldn't be in this position. I would be coming out of a garbage can downtown theater. I truly believe that. I wouldn't have like packed my bags and given up. But I do think there's a little bit of freak accidents
Yeah.
with these careers, to
No,
some
I
extent, you know?
I really appreciate the honesty there, and I think that's important for people
Yeah.
to hear. And then at that
Yeah.
point, showcase, I imagine the pressure is kind of gone in some ways because the hardest thing you already have. So at that point,
Yeah.
you do it, it goes well. You already have a huge casting director. I mean, bi-coastal one at that. Do you at this point
Hmm.
decide to stay in New York or you did?
Yeah, I thought I'll stay in New York. I like my dream is still to do, I've never done Broadway and still like my dream is still new plays and theater. It's been harder to justify it with the money situation
Yeah, of course.
and just whatever. And also I think you have to also go where the love is and you have to respond to the people who are wanting you.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of be in the New York theater scene, and then I got Crazy Ex-Girlfriend probably a couple months after school, and so I came out to LA and then shot that, and then it was kind of probably 4 years of me going back while we shot Crazy Ex of me going back and forth between
Wow.
New York and LA, and I couldn't quite admit that I lived in LA. It took me a second.
Yeah.
It was like the street cred, just the New York. I just got a California driver's license like
Wow.
3 months ago. Like I was holding on for a long time.
Yeah, I get it.
And then I had to realize like my cat's in LA, like my then boyfriend is in LA, like everyone, like I think I live in LA. So yeah, it kind of snuck up on me, and then I thought, let me give LA a chance and let go of my New York apartment, and then I've been here like full time since 2019.
And how was that Crazy Ex-Girlfriend ride for you? I mean, you're incredible in that. And, it's when they used to make really cool shows like that, the business doesn't really,
Yeah.
like, was that a good time in your life, graduating and then going into that?
Yeah, I mean it was terrifying. I still didn't know, I had done this one pilot and that was it. So I didn't really know how to be on camera. But I really think I was thinking about it because Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was such a special show and an incredible group of people. And I think a huge part of it was that it was all of our pretty much first job. I think Scott Michael Foster had done another show before,
Mm.
but the rest of us, it was kind of our first job. So we all had theater backgrounds to some degree. And I think, I think that was a huge part of why we had that kind of spirit and didn't really think twice about rehearsing and getting a song the night before and on our own time coming together and rehearsing the number over and over and over and then recording it the next day and then shooting the music video and then I mean it was insane, but I'm like I don't think that it would work with the same cast today because
Mm.
well no, I mean maybe it would, but I just think like we were so naive and so
Yeah.
excited about the show that we didn't have time to say I'm not coming into rehearsal. Like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Or like we couldn't really get too caught up because we just thought this is so great. Um yeah, I think it was one of those like special shows that we didn't know what we were making while we were making it. And it just now it's like, oh my God, how did we do that
That's
on
so
network,
cool.
you know?
So
Yeah.
it's all good memories from there.
Yeah, of Crazy X.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's like
it
44
was
episodes, right? It was like you did a lot.
yeah, I mean that's probably the amount that I did, but I was not in every episode, and so they probably did because it was back. We had a couple seasons of we did 4 seasons and a couple seasons of like 20 episodes, and
Crazy.
so Rachel, truly, I don't know. Rachel Bloom, I don't know how she did it because she was writing the show, starring in the show, co-EPing the show, and writing the music.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was one of those, you know, truly don't know how she did it things. And the cool thing was we had this kind of underground fan base, and we would do live shows, and the fans were so into it and they would come dressed up and just be so excited about like connecting with other fans and us, and we actually got to do Radio City Musical, which
Wow.
was incredible, and we filled it twice, which was insane. So it was just such a unique experience that I
Yeah,
don't
you were
think
like Taylor
I'll get again.
Swift. My God.
It felt like that for like an
Yeah.
hour and a half, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, the Crazy X fans are still just amazing and really, really sweet, cool people.
Love
Yeah.
that. And then when that ends, I feel like this business has a good way of like when you do something well or you're successful in
Mhm.
something, they want to keep giving you the same thing, even if you want to try something different.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and and so do you feel like it was just never-ending comedies you were getting offered, and what was interesting to you? And we'll work our way up to Animal Control.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, and it did not end up being the same part at all, but I remember my agent sent me after Crazy X ended. Do you remember that show Zoe's Extraordinary
Oh
Playlist?
yeah, yeah. The
So,
Jane did the show.
oh, did she really?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
She's so good. But like, so you remember Alex Newell played like her neighbor, her cool neighbor best friend.
Yeah.
And my agent sent me that part and was like, I think you should audition for this. And I was like, I just played the cool neighbor best friend. Like that's literally the character description. Like at least have me live across town. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's so crazy exactly what you're saying. They see you do one thing and are like, that's what you do. And I'm if anything, I'm just like I just do not want to be in a box ever. And I'm like, I can do a lot of different things, but you have to like give someone a shot when you've just seen them do one thing. But I got an audition for this Tina Fey show that I ended up doing, Mr. Mayor, and
Wow.
I auditioned over like 4 months. It was such an up and down process of like not knowing which way it was going to go, and then I got to do that for 2 seasons,
How was
and that
that?
it was like it was incredible. It was truly terrifying. I was terrified during the pilot. I've never been so sure I was going to get fired. I was like, there's no way I'll continue on with this. But just because they're operating on such a high level with
I'm
jokes
sure.
within jokes, it's just so technical and so like you're either making them laugh and you doing the joke and it's a mile a minute and then working with Ted Danson and Holly Hunter and Bobby Moynihan, it was and Tina Fey and Robert
Oh,
Carlock. It was like crazy. So I felt like very much like imposter syndrome. But so grateful for that experience. And I'm really sad that it was only 2 seasons because to me I was like, this is the dream.
yeah.
Um, but very glad it existed. Very glad it
I'm sure that
existed.
must have been amazing. But then
Yeah.
that probably made way for animal control, right?
Yeah, so that got canceled, and then I actually switched agencies, which was a whole thing, and then I got Animal Control, which I had, funnily enough, so one of the showrunners of our show of Animal Control, his wife is an amazing writer, and she was doing a play, and I did a reading of her play, and then I think she told her husband, who was doing another show at the time, oh, like there's this actor that might be right for one of the parts uh in your show. And I auditioned and then I couldn't end up doing making the call back or something. But then he thought of me again, like no, 4 years later, he thought of me again
Wow.
for Animal Control. So I got to audition for that and then very luckily got it. And now we're on season 3, which is
And
crazy.
how's that ride been, Joel McHale? I mean, it's so cool, and
Yeah.
also another long-running show. Your career is a testament to.
Literally, I'm like knocking on wood right now. I'm like, please. Every day, Ryan, I think is the end because I'm like, I think I've reached the end of my luck. I'm just like,
No way, man. You're gonna
well,
become
truly,
an.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm always waiting for me to be found out, to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and like, I'm not an expert, and I'm not really talented or whatever. So I feel very lucky that have gotten to be on these shows, and especially like that this one is still going.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we don't know if we have another season, but yeah, I just feel really lucky to. I mean, my goal in this was to pay my rent, and so I feel really lucky.
Yeah, totally. And a crazy
Because
time in the business too, you know?
yes, yes, and I feel very lucky, but I also want to come. I think on every level, people are feeling it. So I feel super lucky. I'm on a show. I think. I mean, I don't know if we have another season, but I just want to say for any actors who have agents, it's slow out there. Like
Yeah. Oh,
also, I'm saying I feel really lucky, and like the auditions are slow. So I think everyone's feeling it on different
thank you for
levels, no
saying
matter
that.
where they are. Yeah.
And almost as a callback, so to speak, I got to ask, like, how's it been for your mom seeing you on TV? I mean, her wildest dreams must have been, like going to be a piano prodigy to a star, you know?
Yeah. I'm like, well, she's still upset that I'm not a piano player.
I
So,
know. We got to play one in a movie. That's what we got to make happen.
yeah, that would probably make her the most happy.
Yeah.
No, I think she's very excited. Yeah, she watches the show, which is like,
Amazing.
really sweet. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I think, I'm her only kid, so I think she's proud, even if she doesn't say it. I think probably she's proud.
I have no doubt she's proud. And talk to me. What's most interesting to you now? I don't know if you guys done? Did you shoot this whole season already?
Yeah, we're airing season 3 right now. We're almost done. I think we have 3 more episodes to go for this season, and we finished in the summer.
Oh, okay.
So we're airing now, and then hopefully we find out.
And up front,
Yeah, that's the thing. I have no idea when we'll know if we have another season or we don't.
you will.
Thank
Not,
you.
yeah.
Okay, hear that, Fox?
Yeah. I'm gonna definitely gonna happen.
Fox?
Yeah.
Is Fox here? Um, but yeah, so hopefully we'll find out soon. What was the question?
What's most interesting to you? Like, what do you want to do now? Like
Oh,
obviously.
I mean, I always think that's such an interesting question because I'm like, it's so not up to me. Like,
Yeah, I
none of
know.
this
I
has
know.
ever been up to me.
We're not Timmy
I'm like,
Chalamet over here.
we're not one of the greats, as he says.
Oh my God, don't even
His
give me.
SAG Awards. I was like, okay, Timmy, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm not one of the greats, so I'll honestly have whatever comes my way. But I did act in like kind of during the strike. A couple friends or people in my circle made short films, and those were really fun because I got to kind of I mean, my favorite thing is to make things with people I love.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to just say, oh my gosh, we're not on a network's timeline. We're just making our own thing. And I'm now like producing those shorts, which is, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of like trying to get them out there or tell people about them. And we're kind of submitting them to festivals and stuff. So it's
I
kind of
love
that
that.
whole racket, but it's been really fun to just work with friends and kind of create our own thing, which I think is always, I mean, Issa Rae has this quote, which I love, which she says, everyone thinks they need to network up, but you
Yeah.
should really be networking across and just kind of saying, oh, who are my friends and who are the people that I want to make things with? And that's who you should be networking with is like your people. Um, so that was a good kind of reminder that even when it's slow as fuck and you don't have auditions and you can't see a light, that you do have the ability to kind of connect with your people and make
Yeah.
something.
Well, thank you for saying that. And that also kind of leads me into my final question because I ask every guest this question, and I know it's tough, but I feel like every actor right now is kind of really kind of struggling to make sense of this business because if you look at, and I love him, an amazing actor like Pedro Pascal, those kind of careers relied on a business that largely doesn't exist anymore, where you could kind of do some co-stars and then get a guest star and a reoccurring guest. And you're now Aaron Paul's doing reoccurring guests and Jake Gyllenhaal's,
Yes.
it's just like you can't compete with that. So it's like, when am I
No.
just gonna co-star, my whole way into Gersh?
I also love, I mean, I love that we're bringing Aaron Paul into this. We're like, thanks a lot, Aaron
I
Paul.
know. Aaron Paul, you're great. I just, it's just
No, you're
the,
great. We love you. We love your
yeah,
work.
yeah. But I feel like you and I should really talk actors because I feel like we would align on a lot of them. But
Yeah.
like, I think there's just an immense frustration and a really just a sense of confusion about where to begin. And I think, I guess my question would be if you were starting now, and you kind of spoke on this on with what you just said about your shorts, but
Mhm.
what advice would you have for those listening fighting the fight?
God, I'm like, I honestly
It's
have
a tough question.
so
I'm
it's
sorry.
a tough question. I honestly I think about this. I have so much like empathy and sympathy for people starting off now because a huge thing that was helpful for me, which I'm such an advocate for bringing back, is in-person auditions and being in the room with
Please.
people. And that's not a thing now. And honestly, I'm terrible at self-tapes. I've booked one thing off of self-tapes, which was Animal Control. So I feel grateful. But that's it. I've not,
Yeah.
but oh, sorry. I'm not a self-tape girly. So I was much more hey, how are you? How's your kids? What's your deal? Do
Yeah.
you like reality TV? And that doesn't exist anymore. So I just want to say I have a lot of sympathy for people like starting off now. However, if you are, I guess it's just echoing that same thing of like for me, it's about connecting. It's always been about connecting and connecting with people and connecting with people who you relate to or connecting with a playwright that you love, just like finding your connection. And for me, like in person is not irreplaceable. Like you can't, I mean, I feel like we're talking right now, even though it's through a screen,
You're an
but
amazing
but
because
like
you're
I just think, if like just getting out there and doing things in person. And I often think, to a degree, if you want to do something, do it for free for a little while. And then eventually someone will pay you for it. So if you want to be on set, like offer to shadow, offer to do something for free, offer to be an extra, try to just get in the room, even if you're just a fly on the wall, or go to screenings or go to plays or go. I mean, for me, it's just like getting out there and starting to find out what you love and then starting to offer your services just out of your passion. And then eventually you need to get paid for sure. And don't do things for free your whole life. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to do this for free, you should not do it because it's really hard and you will end up doing it for free at times. So I think it's like if this is your passion, just find a way to do it and connect and find your people and don't be afraid to make things on your own.
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Wow. That was sage advice. This has been an
Cool.
immense honor. You're so badass. I could talk to you literally all day, and we'll have to like seriously
Thank you
work
so
together.
much for having me.
Oh,
Yeah,
please.
you're
Thank you for
so great,
doing
and
it.
I really appreciate the questions and the deep diving. And
Thank
yeah,
you for sharing and opening up. It means everything to me. And on behalf of my audience, like, please come back. We would love to have you again. And
okay, great.
let's
I'll see you tomorrow.
seriously, yeah, seriously, let's work on something. And you're gonna book that play, and I'll see you on Broadway really soon.
See you on Broadway.
Well, thank you so much again. And I'll just say to be continued.
Great. Love it. Thanks, Ryan.